new bike day. So I'm pretty excited. This is my first ever carbon road bike, or carbon bike at all. I've been riding titanium for a couple years. I've ridden alloy, aluminum, and I've ridden steel, but I've never owned a carbon. I've actually only ridden a carbon bike one time, which is pretty crazy considering all of the riding and training and racing that I've been doing. But that's what the reality has been. And so this video, I want to show you guys what I bought, why I bought it. We're not going to ride, and I'll show you guys why. It's pretty nasty right now out in Yensing here. We've been dumped with snow. Last year, we were riding outside 100% training at this time of year, but not this year. All right, so what did we get here? So this is a LightCarbon LCR017-D. Basically, it's a homage to a Cannondale Super 6 EVO. So you can see we've got pretty similar frame geometry. I think it's even like the same amount of like letters if you wrote Cannondale here instead of LightCarbon. We've got a 7 instead of a 71, Lab 71. So I mean, they took heavy inspiration from Cannondale. Now, why did I go ahead and purchase this guy instead of a Cannondale? So I went through a lot of different decisions on what frame geometry based on what type of riding I've been doing. And I mean, I love my titanium frame. It's custom made. It's a beautiful bike to ride, but for the type of riding I'm doing, it's the wrong bike. And I considered actually doing a lot of like light build on it and bring the weight down on it. So I could do a lot of more hilly and mountainous races and stuff. But the amount of money it would have cost to do that, and the frame still wouldn't have been a climbing frame. It's an all-rounder frame, and maybe even a bit more of a gravel frame, expedition frame. It wouldn't have been a climbing frame, an aero bike. So that's why I decided to actually go with a new bike and go with carbon. Now, why I didn't go with Cannondale Super 6 EVO Lab 71 and I went with LightCarbon? Honestly, one of the big considerations is price. The Cannondale is going to be quite expensive, obviously, and LightCarbon is not. So I paid for this entire bike like 4,000 RMB. What's that, like 600, 700 USD for the full bike, complete with everything. We're going to be changing components and stuff on it, but like that's a pretty big difference. And that was one thing. Because I'm going to be racing a lot, I don't want the thought in my head of like, what if I crash this? You know, am I going to cry because I break this super expensive frame? And like, I'd still be sad, but it's not as big of a deal if something were to happen to the frame. So yeah, I'm excited to actually get out on the road and try this frame. One thing that we're going to have to look at is some of the geometry setup here. It came already pre-cut. So I'm gonna have to see if this stack and reach work for me, or if I'm gonna have to change some components up with it. But all right, so overview of the bike. So this is a size 49 and I am 170 centimeters. On one of the forums, people my height are kind of going with the size bigger but shorter stem. I'm always right in between sizes. Usually with like a specialized S-Works, I'd be like a 52. So this might be a little borderline, but I definitely felt that the reach and the saddle post was within where I am. We've got 170 mil cranks on there with a dub bottom bracket at the moment. I'm probably going to be switching that over for a Shimano system so I can go with smaller and lighter cranks. And interestingly, we've got wheel top. So wheel top group system. This is probably the EDX group system, or is it TDX? I think EDX. So that's going to be different. I have had electronic group set, but I've been using SRAM. And everything I kind of see from this is that it should be good enough. Under load shifting might be the main issue, but I'm really interested to give it a try. It's got a Shimano setup right now with an 1134 on the rear and a 5034 chainring on front, so a climbing setup. Probably gonna have to switch that out for something a little bit better on the flat so I can put down a little bit more power and speed, but we're pretty close. And this was also one of the reasons why I chose this geometry. So this is a pretty aggressive seat tube angle, 74.5, not the most aggressive, but I like being over the bottom bracket. And this is a 0-degree offset post. I'm going to change the saddle out, but probably even shift a little bit closer so I can be over those pedals a bit. Here's a look at the other side of the bike. Don't have weight numbers yet. I've got a like a luggage bike scale coming, but I can definitely tell you it's definitely lighter as it is even right now than my titanium 7 cycles frame. And yeah, obviously it's carbon fiber, it's gonna be lighter than the titanium. But like this wheel set is a A30 Ultra. I think this is what usually comes with the XDS bikes. And they're heavy. They're like 1700 grams for the wheel set. So I mean, those are chunky boys for only being 30 mil deep. Those are going to be replaced. But yeah, based on what I calculate though, I should be able to get down to like 6.6, 6.5 kilogram of a build without doing anything like crazy lightweight parts or anything like that. So by the time I put a camera on there and everything, will be right around that like 6.8, 7 kilo, which, yeah, that's good for gracing. I need to start low weight and then build back up with some of the stuff. So one interesting thing is there's like this jagged, like cut down, sawed down stem cap here, or spacer for the integrated handlebar. And apparently the seller is really, really great, very particular, very knowledgeable, but apparently they didn't have the right tool to do what they needed to do there. Apparently when this comes from LightCarbon, whether this is from LightCarbon or it's a third-party cap, this had a bulge so that the entire handlebar wouldn't actually sit correctly. They couldn't get it sit correctly, so they had to like saw off the bulge at the front, which was a weird integration. It's just stuff like that when you're going to go with a Chinese brand, a smaller Chinese OEM brand, like LightCarbon over going with Cannondale. It's going to be the fit and finish is where things are going to be a little off, Like there's no plug back here for where the Di2 cable would come out, and just little things like that. There's probably not a plug in this guy either. So, but those things can be fixed. So I'm not too concerned about that. And obviously we're gonna get rid of the white, dirty, grimy handlebar tape once I figure out if this handlebar works for me or not. I think it's a 40 mil with a 130 stem, but it measures like 45 at the drops here, so it really, really flares out. So we'll see if that actually works out or not. I'm gonna go give the bike a try right now on our indoor trainer just to get an idea, geometry-wise, which direction I'm going with components. But yeah, I'm always looking for great value in the things that I buy, and that's one of the reasons why I bought LAMEDA kit and why I'm now sponsored by LAMEDA. Is great value for what you're spending, and the quality is there. So you're not losing out on any of the quality. You're just not paying the high price point that a lot of the Western brands are forcing people to pay, which is ridiculous at this point. So you guys can use the code BONK15 and get 15% off your next order as well. And take that extra money and put it on some good wheel set, you know?
It makes you very aero.
Yeah, if you can actually hold that.
That's the question.
For one thing, these hoods are like almost like tilted downwards. They got to come up a little bit.
Well, that's possible that they didn't, get that part straight.
I would keep them straight and I would bring them up.
Well, I think a lot of people, naturally, intuitively would think the lower you put the hood, the more aero you are.
Right.
But the aero position has nothing to do with the hood.
Yeah.
It's the same idea of like, oh, if I tilt the saddle downward, I can be in more aero. No, yeah. It doesn't work that way.
No, it's about what position does it put the rider in, because you account for 80% of the aero drag.
And also, this only stretches here.
Yeah.
It doesn't work your other part of the body.
First quote-unquote ride impressions on the indoor trainer, and this drop is quite aggressive for me, but I think that the main problem for me right now is actually the cranks. I feel like I'm just like circling around the world. It is such a huge revolution on these 170s for my shorter legs. And that's always been the case, and I've always wanted to move to shorter cranks. And so that's going to happen in order for me to be able to ride in an aggressive position. I found I can ride upright quite well, just maybe move the hoods around a little bit, angle them, because they're really super aggressively angled at the moment, much more than what I can handle, and like really like angled downwards. Some people don't like the wheel top shifters because they are really tiny. But I don't have that big of hands, and so my hand fits quite nicely on here, nice and snug. I kind of like it, but I need to change the position on those guys. Overall though, like the shifting was pretty good. I just noticed under load, it'll clunk a little bit. That might be because there's 105 components on there, and there's this other brand. Let's see, what's this chainring brand called? It's called Cenix. I've never heard of them, so that might be part of the problem. I don't even know what brand the chain is. It might not be even a Shimano chain. So I think we can dial this guy in to be a really good race bike that we don't have to really think too much about. It'll just do its job, and hopefully it means we're a little bit more competitive this year. I'm looking forward to getting out and riding this guy. So thanks for watching, guys. Again, this is just a first impression video, not even a first ride video, just kind of an announcement of the bike and what it is and what it isn't. It is not a Cannondale Super 6, even though it may very much have been one. I'll catch you guys on the next ride, and hopefully we'll get outside. Peace.